listen, I know what you want to hear, but this is not going to be a get rich quick story. The truth is, if you want to build a multi-million-dollar business, things are definitely going to get messy. It takes a lot of time, a lot of effort, sacrifices, and risk. And there's always going to be setbacks. A lot of people will tell you that they can help you get rich in a matter of weeks or months if you just buy their course. But please do not do that. There is absolutely no shortcut to success. Those people, if they're trying to sell you their course, they're making money off selling you that course in the dream, and they're not actually doing it themselves. Otherwise, why would they be selling you a course? In my case, I didn't make my first million until I was 30 years old, and it took a lot of work and over 10 years of experience working in the corporate world. I've been doing this business for 5 years. I didn't even start paying myself until year 4. I want to give myself a modest salary so that I can afford to reinvest every penny I can back into the business to grow it as large and to be as successful as I possibly can. Because I don't want to just be a millionaire myself. I want to build something that actually has value and meaning and can change the world. And not just one thing. I want to build several of these. From the outside, it probably looks like I have my shit together, but it's not always been like that. And honestly, it still isn't today. If you go back to my high school days, I was a terrible student where I would seize get degrees. I was late to school every day. I showed up late. I slept in every single class. I never did homework ever. And a lot of the teachers would say, you know, you've got to step it up or you're going to go nowhere in life. It's not that I was a troublemaker or I was causing harm in any way in any classroom. It's just I did not care. I was only able to focus in class if it's something that had to pertain to art or technology. And that's all I could focus on, and the only thing that would keep me awake during school. I never touched homework or ever did homework and always got zeros on all homework assignments. But when it came time to take the test, I hunkered down the day before or the few hours before the test, and I would get an A on it. By not doing the homework, but getting an A on all the tests, it would average out to about a C, so I would pass the class. This is kind of how I do things now. I get myself to the point where I'm backed in a corner and I have to produce in order to accomplish the goal. This is where I kind of learned that I work best under extreme pressure, because if I would come home and not pass the class or fail, then I would be grounded and not be able to do things outside of school that I want to do. Now, don't get me wrong. I'm not encouraging anyone to drop out of high school or to not take school seriously, but I would not recommend graduating high school and going straight into a 4-year degree because it's what your parents or the people around you are telling you should do. As far as grade school and high school goes, I think teachers and students should be looking at things that people are passionate about, things that students are passionate about, and letting that student focus and excel on that passion. Because ultimately, where you find passion is where you want to spend your time, and that's where you should spend your time. Now, your general math, reading, and arithmetic are very important, but only to a certain level. You don't need calculus to be a programmer. You don't need Spanish to write fluent English. Why wouldn't you just get a job in a workforce or a trade right after high school and see what it's like, how businesses are run, and kind of surround yourself with that before signing up for $50,000 of debt and getting a corporate job at a company you absolutely despise and working for 20 years just to repay that $50,000 student loan debt. Just expose yourself to the world and what else is out there before going and getting into massive student loan debt. So right out of high school, I pulled the trigger on going to a trade school. I was very passionate about cars and technology and art, and I ultimately chose going into the computer technology route because I saw the dollar signs and the amount of money that could be made there. I got started in my coding career in high school when I would be editing MySpace profiles for myself and my friends, tweaking them to automatically add me as a friend when they came to my page using a script. There's a lot of cool things you could do back then on social media platforms that existed. After getting my 2-year degree, I had several jobs for the Department of Defense and in the private sector. I worked for 10 years as a software engineer through many different positions and companies and roles, and was exposed to a mass value of information that I would never have been able to have had I not had those jobs. For example, my most recent job was working for one of the world's largest mail order pharmacies, where my team specifically handled the distribution and shipping of hundreds of thousands of medications across the United States every single day. Being in that position opened me up to the mass potential that a business can have and how many customers there actually are in the United States, let alone the entire world. And that thought was an addiction for me. I had to create something that I could sell to everyone in the United States alone. Couple that with my addiction to automobiles and wanting expensive cars. Like everyone else on the internet, I wanted a Lamborghini. How could I afford a Lamborghini? I needed to make a website and sell something through e-commerce. That was the answer for me. And that's how my business hat launch was started. In 2017, with just an idea and the ability to write code, I stood up a website to start selling hats online. This combined my love of art, my love of automobiles, and my love of technology to create something that I could actually stand working on till 3 or 4 in the morning for over 4 years. I did both my day job and the side business for 4 years before I finally cut ties with my day job in 2021 to work for myself full time and actually pay myself for the first time a salary. This was a very hard grind to get there, but looking back, I do not regret any sacrifices or any time that I spent building my business because I have such a powerful infrastructure in place now because of it. So in an effort to figure out and choose which e-commerce platform or business or what I wanted to start selling online, I was doing some YouTube research and I found the print-on-demand model where people were selling t-shirts through one of the print-on-demand platforms that existed at the time. I saw this and I knew that I could create t-shirts for particular groups of people that enjoy cars for that particular car and sell it to them on social media platforms. For instance, Facebook has these targeted car groups of people that like specific cars and makes and models, and you can design a shirt to them, post it in a car group with 70,000 people in it, and use a print-on-demand fulfillment center to print and ship every shirt that's bought for you. I started doing this, and within the first month, I sold $2,500 worth of car t-shirts and realized this is a very powerful business model. But what I wanted to do is do it myself, and I realized there wasn't an option for selling hats. When I saw this opening in the market, I knew immediately that was what I was going to do. I was going to build a website and become the print-on-demand fulfillment provider for custom hats on the internet. I first started on an open source e-commerce platform, and I sold my first 100 hats in a few days. I was outsourcing all of the hat creation and embroidery work to a friend's mom that owned an embroidery shop already. And after those first 100 orders, bringing them home and processing them myself on the back end and actually shipping them, I quickly realized I need a platform to make this scalable and more traceable and trackable for me because I was the only person doing the work. So I got to work, and within 8 months, I had the first version of my platform completely custom coded, and I launched the website. I sold 100 hats within my first couple of days of going live. And at that point, I really knew I was onto something. I was selling more hats than I could keep up with on the back end of processing and getting done. I was outsourcing all of the work to someone else to do it for me, but I was actually fulfilling the orders through shipping them and taking them to the post office. I quickly realized I needed a platform to make this as easy as possible for me to be able to process it as effectively as possible. I was doing all of this in my free time and outside of my hours at my day job. So I had to make sure that my time was utilized very efficiently. After outsourcing the work, I decided that I would buy my own machine and do it myself so that I could cut out the middleman there and make that extra margin to hopefully be able to afford the car that I wanted. After having my own machine, I needed to learn how to operate it. And I didn't actually realize how long it was going to take to be efficient at making hats myself and how long it was actually going to take to fulfill the orders myself from start to finish. After getting my first machine, I got my first 100 hat order from someone where it was 100 of the same hats. And the first machine I had would only do 1 hat at a time. And after doing 100 hats one at a time on the single head machine, I realized I need to buy a 6 head machine so I can do 6 hats at once. Since it was just me and my spare time, I needed to be able to get as much done as quickly as possible. But also, this transaction made me realize it is a lot easier to sell 100 hats to one person than 1 hat to 100 people. And at that point, I stopped doing the print-on-demand model and I started focusing on business-to-business sales. Another turning point was when my wife would be making the hats for me at our house while I was at my day job. I would come home and the hats would already be done, and I could then focus on writing code or finding more customers. And at that point, I knew I needed an employee making the hats for me. And this was kind of a turning point in my mentality of bringing help in. The thought of hiring an employee at an hourly rate and getting the business out of my house was so terrifying. I never thought that I'd be able to afford it. But in reality, I couldn't afford not to. A business cannot grow if you're the only person doing the work. You have to delegate the tasks in the business for other people to do for you to focus on growth and optimizing the business. Without getting the business out of my house and hiring employees, I would not be where I am today. In June of 2020, I moved the business out of my house and hired my first part-time employees. After this change, within 6 months, we had reached $1 million in revenue, and we have grown exponentially since then. We have currently produced over 370,000 custom hats for businesses all across the United States. And what's crazy is this business was built around just hats. We didn't start offering anything and everything, stickers, shirts, tumblers. We stuck to just hats. I wanted this business to be the best it could be and only offer hats and not muddy the waters and make our processes work for anything else until I knew they were 100% perfect. Once I felt like our processes were pretty solid in a really great place, I then decided to acquire a screen print business and start up Shirt Launch, which is offering the same reliability, great quality, and fast turnaround times that I was able to get with our processes through Hat Launch, but now for shirts. My goal for Shirt Launch is to get to $5 million in revenue by year 2. Our very realistic goal for growth of Hat Launch is to be at $10 million in revenue in just 2 years. And our goal for Shirt Launch is to get it to $2 million by the end of this year. These numbers are attainable and we have the data backing it. It's just going to take hard work, the workforce, the equipment, and the inventory to execute. And I have the processes and the recipe to make it happen. This has not been an easy path to success. You will get bombarded on the internet with these people telling you that you can get rich quick by buying their course or doing this or selling that. Scaling a business to $1 million isn't that hard, but sustaining profitable growth and delivering quality products and keeping customers happy is not easy. Your goal and mindset should not be around how much money can I have in my bank account. You need to earn enough money to have the lifestyle that you want, but you should be thinking about reinvesting all of the money you can back into the business to continue to grow it. Without reinvesting in your business, it's no longer going to grow, and your competitors are going to take over in the marketplace, and what got you to where you are today will slowly start to decay away. If your business isn't growing, it's dying. For every pause that you have in the marketplace, it's allowing your competitor to catch up and surpass you and steal your customers and business. For me personally, I've always loved cars, and that has been the driving force for me to want to be successful. I want to be able to afford the cars that I want. For you, that might not be the case, and that's perfectly fine. But find whatever it is that you're passionate about and what you want in life, and be successful and become successful to be able to do and afford the things that you want in life. And let that be your driving force to get there. You should always be setting the bar higher for yourself, regardless of where you get. Once you do obtain that goal, like in my instance, getting my first Lamborghini, you realize that once you have attained it, you've built this thing that is so powerful that it becomes much more than just a car. I'm now the well-being for over 24 employees. I've built this thing that is sustaining itself and running itself, but also is the livelihood for many people. And we've had tens of thousands of customers that have entrusted us to help brand their business. It's so much more than just a way for me to afford the cars that I want. Find something that you're actually passionate about and that you love doing, and then build a business around that so you can reach your goals and get to where you want to be in life. Thanks for making it to the end of the video. If you've enjoyed my story, please hit the like button and subscribe if you haven't already. Let's make 2023 your best year of growth ever.